Hey guys, tonight we find ourselves in a world on the cusp of chaos. A world where the ashes of the Great War are barely cooled. And yet the embers are already beginning to glow red once more. Picture yourself in a dimly lit European cafe. Sometime in the 1930s, the rich smell of coffee hangs thick in the air. Conversations are hushed and nervous. And outside the windows you watch soldiers in brown shirts march past in perfect formation. The future feels heavy, oppressive, thundercloud blooming on the horizon, a storm you probably won't survive. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love seeing this little community connect across borders and continents. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together as you sip your bitter coffee and gaze through the cafe-smeared glass. You realize you're sitting in Germany in the years after the First World War, a country defeated, humbled and straining under the conditions of the Versailles Treaty. The Kaiser is gone, the Weimar Republic hangs by a thread, and political radicals of all colors are battling in the streets. The mood is restless, a mixture of shame, rage, and a dangerous form of hope. Your view slips outside. Small group in brown uniforms, the Sturmteilung or SA marches past, shouting slogans in a chorus meant to intimidate and recruit. Among their ranks is a young Austrian-born politician, a man with piercing blue eyes and a dramatic way with words. His name is Adolf Hitler, a former soldier who fought in the Great War and came back feeling betrayed, a sentiment many in Germany shared. His promises to revive the nation, destroy the Versailles Treaty, and bring back German prestige struck a deep chord in a population looking for direction as you follow Hitler's trajectory from beer hall speeches to the chancellorship in 1933. You find yourself wondering, how did a movement founded on fear and revenge conquer a sophisticated, culturally rich society in a matter of years? It's a question that puzzles even today's greatest scholars. Some say it was Hitler's ability to manipulate the media, a newfound understanding of mass psychology. Others blame the weakness of the Weimar institutions or the financial chaos of the Great Depression. Here's a quirky tidbit for you. Hitler, a vegetarian who abstained from alcohol, designed the Nazi Party's iconic emblem, the swastika himself. His ability to blend powerful symbolism with promises of renewal turned him into a kind of messiah for many disaffected Germans. His messages were simple and dramatic. Germany had been betrayed from within, and only a strong leader could redeem it. The stab-in-the-back myth, a conspiracy that Germany hadn't been defeated in battle in 1918, but was betrayed by Jews and left-wing politicians, fell on eager ears. Meanwhile, a debate raged in academia, and it still rages today, about whether Hitler was a master strategist or a madman who fell upward by a combination of luck and chaos. Whatever the answer, there's no denying his ability to connect with ordinary people through promises of unity, renewal, and revenge. His rise to power wasn't a straight path, was filled with failures, imprisonments, remember the beer hall, putsch in 1923, and dramatic comebacks. His ability to learn from his mistakes made him a more formidable force in a weak democracy. As you watch this moment in history unfold from your cafe seat, a literal ringside view of the downfall of a republic, realize you're not powerless in understanding it. The lessons from this time illuminate human nature itself, how fear can undermine a democratic society, how a charming demagogue can manipulate discontent, and how ordinary people can become complicit in extraordinary crimes. Your pulse quickens. The future, which seemed distant and improbable just years earlier, now feels alarmingly close. The wheels of a catastrophic war are turning, and there's a growing feeling that the world is about to be turned upside down. Whatever your doubts or disbelief, you're about to find yourself in the greatest upheaval of the 20th century, a showdown that will redefine the human story as you lift your eyes from your cooled cup of coffee and watch Hitler consolidate power. A dramatic shift starts to unfold across Germany and its borders, a move from promises to action. It's from a restless movement to a fully operational, totalitarian state. The years following Hitler's rise to chancellorship in 1933 were a masterstroke of political maneuvering. His promises were no longer just slogans. Now you see them become policy, a dramatic reshaping of Germany's future and the future. Of all Europe, your view glides forward to March 1938. The Anschluss, the annexation of Austria, to Nazi Germany is underway. Hitler, an Austrian by birth, crosses the border into his home country in a dramatic motorcade, cheered by a huge crowd. The Anschluss is a key moment in Hitler's expansion. It signals the first violation of the Versailles Treaty and shows the world that Hitler is not afraid to challenge the diplomatic order. Picture yourself in the crowd in Vienna. The people around you raise their hands in a chorus of Sieg Heil. The city is a riot of red and black flags and SS soldiers in spotless black uniforms. Among the cheers, you feel a strange mixture of emotions, a rush of unity, a spark of hope for renewal, but beneath it lies a threatening undercurrent. The Jews of Vienna, nearly 200,000 strong, suddenly find their businesses closed, their synagogues destroyed, their futures erased. The Anschluss is not a liberation. It's the first act in a tragedy. Here's a quirky piece of this story. Might find strange, Hitler insisted on designing his own motorcade route through Vienna, choosing the Grand Ringstrasse, a ceremonial avenue filled with majestic buildings and rich symbolism. His progress was a piece of theater, a carefully orchestrated moment meant to showcase a powerful leader reconnecting with his roots and bringing unity to all German people. Meanwhile, European leaders in London and Paris were unsure how to respond. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain believed in appeasement, the policy of making concessions in the face of aggression, thinking it might satisfy Hitler's ambitions and avoid a larger conflict, a peace for our time. Those were his fateful words upon his return from negotiating in Munich. His policy seemed reasonable to many in the context of a world that was sick of war. But we know now it was a dangerous illusion. Some say appeasement emboldened Hitler. It made him think the European powers were weak, unwilling to confront him directly. There's a vigorous historical debate, and it still rages today, about whether appeasement was a naive policy or a reasonable course given the trauma of the First World War. Whatever side you take, it's clear in hindsight that this policy bought Hitler time to consolidate power, rearm Germany, pursue his expansionist goals. Your view pulls back from the dramatic scenes in Vienna and London and focuses on the face of Hitler, the piercing blue eyes, the dramatic gestures. A man who seemed destined to conquer. A man who believed profoundly in his mission. His confidence seemed unshakable. His view of the future was a world united under a German empire, a Lebensraum for his people to flourish. Meanwhile, ordinary Europeans were forced to reconcile their daily routines with the upheaval. Jews were forced from their businesses. In synagogues, journalists were silenced. Political opposition was crushed. The structures of a totalitarian state fell into place piece by piece. A labyrinth of power designed to control thought, action, and conscience. As you move forward in the story, you realize you're not a passive spectator. The choice is made by ordinary people, whether to collaborate or resist, to stay silent or speak up, collectively pave the path to tragedy. The Anschluss isn't just a dramatic headline. It's a human story, a story about a society that chose unity over justice, peace over principle, and submission over resistance. Your pulse quickens once more. The momentous years to come will be filled with dramatic confrontations and painful revelations. The Anschluss is not the last twist, it's the first, a foreshadowing of a continent, soon to be consumed by a war nobody believed could happen again, as you find yourself on the ground in the dimly lit forests near the German Polish border in the early hours of September 1st, 1939. A dramatic change is about to take place, a change that will reverberate across continents and decades. The peace that European powers fought so hard to maintain has become a fragile illusion. The German army is massed just a few miles away, its soldiers restless, its tanks gassed up and ready, its aircraft poised to attack. The moment you're about to witness will be a decisive shock, a thunderclap, marking the start of the greatest conflict in human history. Picture yourself, a soldier, a young recruit in the Wehrmacht, peering through the pre-dawn mist across the border. The silence is oppressive, a deep, heavy hush, broken suddenly by the roar of artillery and the advance of panzer divisions. The invasion of Poland, codenamed Fall Weiss Case White, has begun. The blitzkrieg tactic, a lightning. War relies on shock, speed, and overwhelming force. It's a dramatic demonstration of a new form of modern warfare. As you advance alongside German soldiers, the first villages come under attack. The Poles are brave but ill-prepared for the combination of aerial assault, mechanized infantry, and fast-moving tanks. Towns are quickly overrun, soldiers routed, civilians forced from their homes. The German army cuts through defenses with an alarming ease, a tactic made possible by careful planning, extensive training, and a sophisticated understanding of combined arms. Here's a quirky tidbit you might find strange. Many German soldiers were given Pervadin, a form of methamphetamine to keep them awake, aggressive, and energetic during their advance. The drug was handed out in tiny pills labeled Hermann Gring pills, a dangerous form of state-sanctioned stimulant. It kept soldiers marching through the night and ignoring their own physical limits, adding a bizarre, chemically fueled edge to the blitzkrieg. Meanwhile, the world was stunned. The invasion seemed to come from a clear blue sky, although Hitler's intentions were hardly a secret. His promises to conquer Lebensraum living space were made publicly years earlier. Nevertheless, European powers were slow to respond. The British and French demanded that Germany withdraw immediately. When their deadline passed, both declared war. But by then, much of Poland was already under German control. Some say this moment highlights a key historical debate, whether appeasement made Hitler more aggressive, or whether a showdown was inevitable, given his ideology and goals. Whatever side you take. The attack on Poland opened a dramatic and bloody chapter in the 20th century story that would soon engulf the entire world. Your view expands to show Soviet troops pouring in from the east on September 17th, following a clandestine pact between Hitler and Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which divided Eastern Europe into German and Soviet spheres of influence. Poland was erased from the map in a matter of weeks, divided by two totalitarian regimes. As you move forward alongside the soldiers, you realize you're not just a passive bystander. The invasion of Poland isn't a distant episode. It's a dramatic turning point that transforms the future for everyone, soldiers and civilians alike. The borders you crossed in the dim light of that September morning will soon become the front line of a total war, a war that will challenge human compassion, undermine political structures, and destroy countless lives. Your pulse climbs. Feeling in your gut, the rush of adrenaline, and the chaos all around you, make it clear this is not a localized conflict. It's a spark that will set the world ablaze. The invasion of Poland is the first act in a dramatic, bloody tragedy, a story you're now a part of, whether you want to be or not. As you withdraw from the smoke-covered fields of Poland and find yourself stranded in a strange limbo. A pause in the action, you realize you're entering a dramatic and puzzling chapter in this story. The period following the fall of Poland, from late 1939 into the spring of 1940, has become known as the Phony War, or Sitzkrieg, the sitting. War, a moment when much of Europe seemed unsure about what to do next. The soldiers remained in their trenches. The generals drew up plans. Ordinary people tried to carry on their lives under the oppressive shadow of a new world conflict. Picture yourself sitting in a dimly lit cafe in Paris in December 1939. The mood is restless, but strange. The French soldiers are massed along the Maginot Line, a sprawling chain of fortifications designed to keep Germany from advancing westward. The British Expeditionary Force has crossed the Channel and is busy organizing its defenses alongside their French allies. Yet for all these preparations, the expected attack has not come. The silence hangs heavy in the air, a dramatic lull, a moment of nervous anticipation. Meanwhile, Hitler is busy regrouping, choosing his next move. His generals are divided. Some advocate a direct attack on France through Belgium, a replay of the Schlieffen Plan from the First World War, while others propose a more sophisticated tactic to cut through the Ardennes. Among these, a young general, Erich von Manstein, advocates a bold stroke through this thickly forested region, a move that the French consider impenetrable. His plan, a sickle-shaped attack, the Sichelschnitt, will become a decisive turning point in the war. Here's a quirky piece of this story you might find hard to believe. During this period of lull, soldiers on both sides sometimes played soccer against each other, exchanged small talk across the lines, or listened to the same radio signals in their respective trenches. The phony war seemed almost surreal, a kind of temporary peace, a calm before the hurricane, a moment when soldiers were not yet enemies in a total war, but fellow human beings stranded by circumstance. Meanwhile, the European powers were divided over what this pause meant. Some believed Hitler might be bluffing that peace might be preserved through diplomatic negotiations. Others insisted it was a dangerous illusion, a moment Hitler was using to consolidate and prepare for a decisive attack. There's a long-standing historical debate, and it still rages today, about whether the phony Nazi war was a missed opportunity to confront Hitler while Germany was weak, or a necessary pause for the Western powers to gather their resources and resolve. As you move forward through this strange period, through freezing nights in fortified positions and nervous meetings in dimly lit war rooms, you realize you're experiencing a dramatic pause in the story, a moment when the future hangs in the balance. The soldiers swapping stories across no man's land, the civilians trying to maintain their routines, the generals wrestling with plans, all of them are suspended in a delicate moment between peace and chaos. Your pulse settles briefly. There's a temptation to hope it might stay this way. A strange peace, a temporary calm, but deep down you know the phony war is a prelude. The silence will break soon enough. The decisive attack is already being prepared. The soldiers will soon be called upon to move forward. The civilians will find their lives upended. The general's plans will be put to a dramatic test. Whatever peace this moment promises is illusory. A lull, a dramatic pause. A deep breath before the plunge into a total war. As you find yourself stranded in the icy forests of Norway, in the dim months of April 1940, a dramatic showdown is about to unfold, a showdown that will illuminate Hitler's true ambitions and the lengths to which both the British and the Germans will go to control a key corner of Europe. The invasion of Norway, Operation Weserübung, is a dramatic twist in this story, a moment when the phony war drops away and a new, aggressive phase begins. Picture yourself boarding a destroyer under a purple-black sky, surrounded by icy seas, fjords, and steep mountains. The water cuts against the hull, freezing spray stinging your face. All around you, the Royal Navy is maneuvering in a desperate bid to keep Norway rich in iron ore from falling into Hitler's hands. The German Navy, meanwhile, is making a dramatic dash across the North Sea to land troops in key Norwegian ports. From Oslo in the south to Narvik in the far north, the stage is set for a showdown in freezing waters, a showdown that will become a dramatic first for Hitler's aggressive policy. Here's a quirky detail you might find strange. Many German soldiers were transported into Norway, not in troop ships but in disguised merchant ships, slipping past Royal Navy blockades under false flags. It was a risky trick, a piece of clever deception, adding a clandestine flavor to a dramatic campaign. The Royal Navy fell for it, allowing German destroyers to dart through their defensive net and put soldiers directly into Norway's key port cities. Meanwhile, the British rushed soldiers to Norway in a bid to reinforce their Norwegian allies and cut off the German advance. British Royal Marines fought hard at Narvik, trying to dislodge the German troops who had gotten there first. The battle was a dramatic and bloody affair, a dramatic demonstration of the Royal Navy's ability to project power and the adaptability of Hitler's soldiers, who fought against freezing temperatures, unfamiliar mountains, and a hostile population. Some say the Norway campaign highlights a key historical debate, whether British and French intervention was flawed from the outset, a brave but ill-prepared venture, or a missed opportunity to confront Hitler directly and cut off his flow of iron ore from Sweden. Whatever view you take, it's clear this episode underscores the growing scale of the conflict. A dramatic expansion from a European crisis into a wider war. A war that will soon draw in not just the European powers, but the entire world. Your view glides forward in time to June 1940, when Norway fell under German control and British troops were forced to withdraw. The Norwegian king and government went into exile in London, a dramatic symbol of resistance, a thread tying Norway's future to the eventual Allied struggle. The Royal Navy remained a powerful force in the North Sea, and the Norwegian resistance movement kept up a clandestine fight against the occupation. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through icy forests, freezing waters, and clandestine operations, you realize you're experiencing a key moment in the expansion of the Second World War. Norway is not a sideshow. A dramatic turning point. A place where Hitler secured a crucial base for future operations, and the British tasted their first bitter setback. Your pulse climbs once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mix of anticipation and nervousness, signals you're on the cusp of something much bigger. Norway has fallen, but this is only the beginning. The dramatic showdown in Norway foreshadows the larger battles to come. The showdown that will soon erupt in France and the Low Countries. And the dramatic collapse of a continent's defenses under the pressure of a powerful war machine. As you lift your gaze from Norway's icy waters and forests, a dramatic upheaval is already underway further south. A shock assault that will redefine the course of the war. The German army, having tasted success in Norway, now focuses its power on France and the Low Countries. May 10th, 1940. Dramatic day that marks the start of Hitler's greatest gamble, the invasion of France, a move that will conquer a European powerhouse in a matter of weeks. Picture yourself in a dimly lit French bunker on the Magina. Lying in the early hours of May 10th, the soldiers around you are nervous but assured. The fortified defenses to the east have stood strong against Germany in the past. The French army, supported by British and Belgian troops, believes it is ready for a showdown. But what you're about to witness will undermine all those defenses in a dramatic display of a new form of war. A blitzkrieg, a lightning war, designed to move faster and cut through resistance more decisively than anyone thought possible. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. The main German attack isn't against the fortified Magina line. Hitler's generals have routed their main force through the Ardennes, a thickly forested, hilly region the French believed impassable to tanks. This dramatic maneuver, devised by Erich von Manstein, lets the German army bypass strong defenses and break through a weak spot in the Allied lines, spreading chaos in their rear and threatening their ability to respond effectively. Meanwhile, the Royal Air Force and the French Air Force scramble to respond. Sky and ground become a dramatic battleground. Stukas swoop in to destroy communication lines. Panzers rush forward under the cover of air attacks, and soldiers find their defenses collapsing faster than messages can be routed back to command. The German advance cuts through Belgium and into France in days, a dramatic feat made possible by careful planning, bold leadership, and the element of surprise. Some say this attack underscores a key historical debate whether the French army was ill-prepared for a modern, mobile war, or whether it fell victim to a perfect combination of German innovation and flawed Allied strategy. Whatever side you take, it's clear this dramatic breakthrough opened the path for the fall of France, a moment many thought unimaginable just a few months earlier. Your view glides forward to a dramatic scene in the French countryside. Soldiers in disarray, civilians fleeing their homes in a massive exodus, and a French leadership unsure how to respond. The German advance cuts through France's defenses like a knife through warm butter. The British Expeditionary Force finds itself stranded and vulnerable, soon to be forced into a dramatic and desperate withdrawal from Dunkirk. As you move forward through these dramatic days through forests, fields, and fortified villages, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. The German blitzkrieg has turned a showdown into a rout, a dramatic collapse of a power that many believed was strong enough to resist Hitler's aggression. The fall of France signals a dramatic reshaping of the European balance of power, a turning point that will affect the course of the war for years to come. Your pulse climbs once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of fear and awe, underscores the dramatic transformation you're witnessing. The greatest army in Western Europe has fallen in a matter of weeks. The future hangs in the balance, and you know the showdown is far from over. A dramatic twist in a story that is growing more dramatic by the day, as you find yourself stranded on the sand-draped shores of Dunkirk in late May 1940. A dramatic scene plays out in real time, a showdown not of aggression, but of survival. The British Expeditionary Force, alongside French and Belgian soldiers, finds itself encircled by the German army. The panzers have pressed forward quickly and decisively, cutting off nearly 400,000 troops from their main force and threatening to destroy them all in a dramatic, decisive stroke. Picture yourself on the beach. Sand under your knees, the icy channel at your back, and a thunderous artillery barrage all around you. The soldiers are stranded in their greatest moment. A vulnerability, a dramatic reversal for the British Army. The Royal Air Force is battling in the skies above against the German Luftwaffe, trying to keep the skies clear long enough for an evacuation to take place. The Royal Navy, meanwhile, is organizing a dramatic, unprecedented effort to withdraw. Soldiers under heavy fire, a mission that will come to be called the Miracle of Dunkirk. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. Nearly 800 civilian boats, fishing trawlers, yachts, and lifeboats cross the channel alongside Royal Navy destroyers to help bring back stranded soldiers. It was a dramatic display of unity and sacrifice, ordinary people putting their lives on the line to rescue their soldiers. A moment when a civilian flotilla played a key role in a military withdrawal. Meanwhile, Hitler made a dramatic and puzzling decision. Temporary halt order that paused his panzers just outside Dunkirk. Some say this was a concession to Hermann Göring, who insisted the Luftwaffe should destroy the British Army from the air. Others say Hitler was trying to avoid overextending his supply lines. Whatever the true motives, this pause opened a dramatic window, a small but crucial opportunity for the British to pull their soldiers back across the channel. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate, whether Hitler made a huge blunder by staying his advance and letting the British Army live to fight another day. Whatever side you take, it's clear the Dunkirk spirit, a dramatic blend of perseverance, unity, and adaptability preserved not only soldiers' lives, but a nation's ability to resist in the face of overwhelming aggression. Your view glides forward to the docks of Dover in the south of England, where the rescued soldiers disembark, weary, injured, yet alive. The Royal Navy and civilian crews have performed a dramatic feat, rescuing nearly 338,000 soldiers. Under heavy attack, and against all odds, the British Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, called it a miracle of deliverance, a dramatic moment that turned a potential catastrophe into a symbol of hope and unity. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through sand, smoke, and the icy waters of the Channel, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. Dunkirk is not a triumph in the traditional sense. Soldiers are routed, equipment is left behind, but it is a dramatic affirmation of a nation's resolve. The British Army lives to fight another day, dramatic twist that will shape the future course of the war. Your pulse settles once more, feeling in your stomach, a mixture of relief and apprehension, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The showdown at Dunkirk wasn't the end. It was a dramatic beginning, a renewal, a moment when ordinary people and soldiers alike demonstrated the ability to endure and resist in the face of overwhelming aggression. As you lift your eyes from the smoke-covered Channel and turn back toward London in the summer of 1940, a dramatic showdown is about to unfold in the skies above. The Battle of Britain, a showdown that will determine whether Hitler can conquer the last free corner of Western Europe, hangs in the balance. The Royal Air Force finds itself battling against a powerful, experienced, and aggressive German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, in a dramatic test of resolve, skill, and unity. Picture yourself in a dimly lit operations room in London, surrounded by Royal Air Force officers marking positions on a giant map with wooden blocks. The phone rings incessantly. The radar stations, a key British innovation, report formations of German aircraft crossing the channel. Scrambled Royal Air Force pilots rush to their Spitfires and Hurricanes, climbing into the cockpits with nervous hands and beating hearts. The heavens become a dramatic battleground, a showdown in the clouds, where the future of a nation hangs in the balance. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. The British had a sophisticated radar network, first of its kind, that allowed them to track and respond to German formations in real time. It was a dramatic technological edge, a hidden advantage that made the Royal Air Force more effective and adaptable. Despite being outnumbered, without radar, the Battle of Britain might have gone very differently, a dramatic demonstration of how technology can profoundly affect the course of a conflict. Meanwhile, radar stations and aircraft factories in a dramatic assault designed to undermine British defenses. But the Royal Air Force fought back, employing a combination of well-trained pilots, sophisticated command and control, and pure resolve to keep their skies free. Some say this showdown underscores a key historical debate whether Hitler made a fatal mistake by shifting his attacks from Royal Air Force airfields to British cities in September 1940. Whatever side you take, it's clear this dramatic change in tactics, the start of the Blitz, provided the Royal Air Force with a much-needed reprieve and an opportunity to regroup and resist. Your view glides forward through nights, filled with the thunder of falling bombs and the piercing wail of air raid sirens. Londoners sheltered in the tube, children were evacuated to the countryside, and ordinary people kept their heads up amid dramatic danger. The resolve of the British people and their ability to absorb punishment without losing their will would become a dramatic symbol of resistance. A legacy summed up in Churchill's words, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." As you move forward through these dramatic days, through clouds filled with aircraft, through nights punctuated by explosions, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. The Royal Air Force, against all odds, has kept Hitler at bay and preserved a base from which future operations, a dramatic counteroffensive, can be launched. The showdown in the skies over England is not the final battle, but it is a dramatic turning point, a moment when the course of the war shifted. Your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of awe and nervous anticipation, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The Royal Air Force has fought and won its greatest showdown. It's not through overwhelming force, but through unity, resolve, and adaptability. The future hangs in the balance, in a dramatic new chapter in the story of the Second World. War is about to unfold. As you find yourself back on European soil in June 1941, a dramatic twist in the story of the Second World War is about to unfold, a showdown that will become the largest land invasion in human history. Hitler, ignoring all advice against opening a two-front war, has turned his ambitions eastward. His target, Soviet Russia. The code name, dramatic in its own right, is Operation BARBAROSA. Picture yourself hidden in a small Russian cabin near the border as thunderous artillery signals the start of the German advance. The ground trembles beneath you, the windows rattle, and a massive wall of German panzers, soldiers, and aircraft surges forward. It's a dramatic moment, a showdown between two totalitarian regimes that will determine not just the future of Europe, but the course of the world. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. Hitler insisted on delaying the invasion by a few crucial weeks to resolve a messy situation in the Balkans. That delay meant the German advance would be forced to conquer vast swaths of Soviet territory just as the Russian mud, the Rasputitsa, and freezing temperatures set in. It was a dramatic twist of fate, a small delay that would profoundly affect the course of the campaign. Meanwhile, the German army pressed forward faster and more decisively than anyone, including Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, believed possible. Cities fell in days. Soviet soldiers were encircled by the hundreds of thousands, and a dramatic feeling of panic swept through Soviet leadership. Some say this underscores a key historical debate, whether Soviet resistance was weak because of a lack of preparedness or strong because of its ability to absorb punishment and regroup under pressure. Your view glides forward through forests and fields, through the dramatic chaos of Blitzkrieg and into the outskirts of Moscow. The German advance falters in the freezing cold. Soldiers suffer from frostbite, machines break down, and supply lines become overextended. The Soviet army, meanwhile, finds its resolve hardening. Reinforcements from Siberia, soldiers conditioned to freezing temperatures, rush forward to stiffen Moscow's defenses in a dramatic showdown at the gates of the Soviet capital. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate. Whether Hitler made a fatal mistake by diverting resources to the south instead of striking directly at Moscow. Whatever side you take, it's clear this dramatic pause allowed Soviet resistance to consolidate and counterattack, turning the tide against the German advance as you move forward through these dramatic days through freezing forests, icy rivers, and fortified defensive lines. You realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. Operation Barbarossa has opened a new and bloody chapter, a showdown on a scale previously unimaginable, a dramatic reversal of Hitler's fortunes, and a key turning point in the eventual outcome of the war. Your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of awe and apprehension, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The German army has been halted, not destroyed, but forced into a dramatic reassessment of its ability to conquer the Soviet Union. The showdown in the east is far from over, and a dramatic battle for survival lies just over the horizon. As you lift your gaze from the icy forests outside Moscow, a dramatic twist is about to unfold halfway across the world. A showdown in the Pacific that will draw a powerful new actor into the greatest conflict in human history. The year is 1941, December 7th, a day that will live in infamy, when Japanese planes, launched from a powerful carrier force, attacked Pearl Harbor in a dramatic, decisive assault. Picture yourself on the deck of a battleship in Hawaii's Pearl Harbor, the water glimmering under a calm Sunday morning sun. The piece is deceptive. The first alarm signals come in. Strange formations of aircraft are visible on the horizon, and within minutes, the skies are filled with Japanese warplanes. Torpedoes rush through the water toward the moored ships. Bombs drop from above. In a dramatic attack that transforms the Pacific, overnight, here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. Japanese pilots were briefed with a detailed scale model of Pearl Harbor constructed from sand to aid their attack plans. It was a dramatic, unconventional preparation, a miniature recreation that highlights the careful, decisive planning that made the attack so effective. Meanwhile, the attack destroys much of the Pacific Fleet's battleships. A dramatic blow to American power, but it leaves the aircraft carriers unharmed. Those carriers, by a twist of fate, were at sea that morning and avoided destruction. Some say this underscores a key historical debate whether Japanese planners made a fatal oversight by failing to destroy the carriers. Whatever side you take, it's clear this dramatic twist meant the USA kept its ability to respond and eventually turn the tide. Your view glides forward through the dramatic days following the attack. President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressing Congress, calling December 7th a date which will live in infamy. The USA declares war on Japan, and days later, Germany and Italy, honoring their pact with Japan, declare war on the USA in a dramatic escalation of the conflict. The showdown has gone global. The Pacific and European wars are now two fronts of a single, world-encompassing showdown. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate, or whether Hitler made a dramatic mistake by declaring war on the USA immediately after Pearl Harbor. Whatever side you take, it's clear this dramatic decision drew the greatest industrial power on Earth into the conflict. The USA's vast resources, production capabilities, and population will soon become a decisive factor in the showdown against the Axis powers. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through declarations of war, through the mobilization of a nation, you realize you're experiencing a turning point in the story of the Second World War. The attack on Pearl Harbor not only struck a dramatic blow against the USA, It also galvanized a powerful, united resolve to destroy tyranny wherever it arose. The showdown is far from over in many ways. It's just beginning, a dramatic new phase in a world-changing conflict. Your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of shock and resolve, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The USA has entered the war, and the balance of power has shifted. The showdown will soon be fought on two enormous fronts, a dramatic and decisive showdown that will shape the future of the world. As you find yourself deep in the Pacific jungle islands in 1942, a dramatic showdown is unfolding a battle for control of a key stronghold, Guadalcanal. The Japanese, having made a dramatic advance across Southeast Asia and the Pacific, are trying to consolidate their defensive perimeter. The USA, now fully committed to the Pacific War, sees Guadalcanal as a dramatic opportunity to check their expansion and launch its first major land assault against Japanese forces. Picture yourself on the bloody shores of Guadalcanal's sand. Beneath your knees, jungle creeping up all around you as us Marines rush forward under a thunderous artillery barrage. The air is thick with smoke, the jungle alive with hidden enemies. The nights are filled with dramatic close-quarter battles. The soldiers advance, one careful stride at a time, through an oppressive jungle climate, battling not just a determined Japanese garrison, but disease, hunger, and exhaustion. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. Japanese called Guadalcanal the Island of Death, a dramatic nickname reflecting their growing struggles against a persistent and unconventional opponent. Malaria, dengue, poor supply lines, and jungle conditions made this a dramatic war of attrition, not the decisive showdown their generals had envisioned. Meanwhile, the USA pressed forward with a dramatic combination of land, air, and naval power. The battle was not a simple assault. It was a grinding showdown, a war within a war fought under inhospitable conditions and against a formidable Japanese resistance. Some say this underscores a key historical debate whether the USA won Guadalcanal through overwhelming resources or through adaptability and tenacity. Whatever side you take, it's clear this dramatic showdown marked a turning point in the Pacific. Your view glides forward through the months of battle, through the dramatic nights when destroyers fought close-quarter battles off nearby islands, through the struggles for control of Henderson Field, through the heroic actions of soldiers and pilots who fought against the odds. The Japanese tried repeatedly to reinforce their garrison, sending in troops under cover of darkness in what the Americans called the Tokyo Express, a dramatic delivery of soldiers and supplies. But these efforts were increasingly intercepted, disrupted, destroyed. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate whether the Japanese made a dramatic mistake by pouring resources into Guadalcanal instead of conserving their strength for future battles. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown drained their resources and momentum. While the USA grew more proficient, more determined, and more aggressive in its Pacific operations. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through jungle ambush and midnight naval battles, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. The USA has gone from a reactive force to a dramatic, forward-moving army, a transformation that will carry it across the Pacific, island by bloody island. Toward ultimate showdown in the Japanese home islands, your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of awe and awe. Resolve underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. Guadalcanal was not the final battle. It was the first in a dramatic campaign, a showdown that turned the tide of the Pacific War. As you lift your gaze from the jungle-covered slopes of Guadalcanal, a dramatic new showdown is unfolding. Across North Africa in 1942 and 1943, a showdown that will become a decisive turning point in the European War. The Axis powers, under the charming yet formidable Erwin Rommel. The Desert Fox are battling British, Free French, and now American troops for control of North Africa's rich resources in strategically vital Mediterranean talk. Picture yourself in the barren expanse of the Sahara, sand swirling in dramatic clouds against a purple-orange sky. The rumble of British tanks, German panzers, and American artillery echoes across the sand. The soldiers you march alongside are tough, adaptable, and increasingly proficient at this dramatic form of desert warfare, a showdown defined by movement, deception, and the ability to keep supply lines alive under the harshest conditions. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. During the North Africa campaign, the British tried an unconventional tactic employing a magician, Jasper Maskelyne, to create optical illusions and misdirect the German army. His dramatic trickery from dummy tanks to fake army formations challenged the very senses of the Axis commanders and made a decisive contribution to the eventual British breakthrough at El Alamein. Meanwhile, the USA was experiencing its first dramatic trial by fire against the German army at the Battle of Kasserine Pass in Tunisia. The Americans were ill-prepared and poorly led, a dramatic shock to their confidence, but it forced a dramatic overhaul in their command structure and tactics. Some say this underscores a key historical debate, whether this painful initiation was a necessary growing experience or a dramatic blunder that cost many needless lives. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown forced the USA to learn and adapt quickly. It's a dramatic transformation that made their army more effective in future campaigns. Your view glides forward through these dramatic days, through the final showdown at El Alamein, where the British Eighth Army, under Bernard Montgomery, turned back Rommel's advance. Through the landings of Operation Torch, where USA and British soldiers opened a dramatic new front in North Africa, and into Tunisia, where the last Axis stronghold fell in May 1943. The North Africa showdown was dramatic in its scale and its human cost, a campaign that marked the first decisive land victories for the Allies. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate, whether North Africa was a dramatic sideshow or a crucial proving ground. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown forced the USA and UK to learn hard lessons, to resolve their weaknesses, and to come together in a dramatic coalition that would soon carry the fight into Europe itself. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through sand and scrub, through battles won and lessons learned, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. North Africa was not the final showdown. It was the dramatic opening act, a proving ground for soldiers, strategies and friendships that would soon be put to the ultimate test in the invasion of Europe. Your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of anticipation and resolve, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The showdown in North Africa has paved the way for the greatest campaigns of the war, campaigns that will carry you back across the Mediterranean and into the very heart of Hitler's empire. As you lift your eyes from the sand-swept battlefields of North Africa, a dramatic showdown is about to unfold across the waters of the Mediterranean. A showdown that will bring you directly into the soft underbelly of Hitler's empire. The year is 1943. The Axis powers have been forced from Africa, and the Allies are poised to carry their momentum forward by striking at Italy, the weak link in Hitler's defensive chain. Picture yourself boarding a landing craft in the dim hours before a dramatic assault, the invasion of Sicily, codenamed Operation Husky. The sea is restless beneath you, a purple-black mirror reflecting a dramatic sky filled with Royal Air Force and USA Army Air Force planes. The soldiers around you grip their gear a little tighter. Many are experiencing their first large-scale assault by water, unsure of what lies on the island's shores. Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. The Allies successfully deceived Hitler and his generals about their true invasion plans through a dramatic ruse. Operation Mincemeat, which involved planting fake documents on a corpse and letting it wash up on a Spanish beach. The documents misled the German high command into believing the attack would come through Greece and Sardinia instead of Sicily. It was a dramatic triumph of deception, a clever twist that paved the way for a successful invasion. Meanwhile, the invasion itself was dramatic and hard-fought. The German and Italian defenders were determined to resist. The island's mountainous interior made for slow, bloody progress. Some say this underscores a key historical debate whether the invasion of Sicily was a dramatic triumph or a messy, flawed campaign. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown opened a path into the Italian peninsula and forced Hitler to reassess his defenses across southern Europe. Your view glides forward through these dramatic days, through the chaos of the landings, through the hard-fought battles for key towns like Palermo and Messina, and into the dramatic moment when Italian fascism fell from power. The Italian king dismissed Mussolini. The fascist party was outlawed, and a dramatic political upheaval followed, reflecting not just a military advance, but a dramatic change in the political landscape of Europe. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate, whether the invasion of Italy was a dramatic diversion from the main showdown in France, or a crucial move to undermine Hitler's defenses from the south. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown forced Germany to divert troops and resources. It's weakening its ability to respond elsewhere. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through the rich countryside, the ancient ruins, and the fortified mountains, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. The invasion of Italy was not the final. It was a showdown. It was a dramatic breakthrough, a first step into the European continent. A crack in Hitler's fortress that would soon grow into a breach. Your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of anticipation and resolve, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The showdown in Italy has opened a path forward, a path that will soon carry you toward the greatest showdown of all, the invasion of France. As you lift your gaze from the dramatic ridges of Monte Cassino and the ruins of Naples, you find yourself on the cusp of the greatest showdown of the Second World War, the invasion of France. The year is 1944. The moment has come. The resources have been gathered, the soldiers trained, the plans made in utter secrecy. The world hangs in the balance, and you, whether you realize it or not, are a key actor in this dramatic unfolding of history. Picture yourself boarding a landing craft in the dim hours of June 6th, 1944, a dramatic day that will come to be called D-Day. The channel waters are choppy beneath you. The clouds above hang heavy with anticipation. The soldiers around you check their gear. It's quietly praying or exchanging nervous jokes. A human thread tying together soldiers from all walks of life. In this dramatic showdown against Hitler's fortified Atlantic Wall, here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. The invasion was nearly called off due to bad weather. The chief meteorologist, James Stagg, insisted on a small break in the storm, a dramatic window of opportunity, and against all odds, the invasion was greenlit. His prediction proved accurate. Without his intervention, the greatest assault in history might have been delayed, the course of the war profoundly altered. Meanwhile, under a dramatic thunder of artillery and aircraft, the first soldiers wade ashore at Omaha, Utah, Gold, Juno, and Sword Beaches. The German defenses are formidable, fortified pillboxes, mines, and artillery, and the cost is dramatic. Some say this underscores a key historical debate, whether the invasion was nearly a failure, dramatic close call, or a triumph of careful planning and brave soldiers. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown opened a breach in Hitler's defenses. A dramatic first step toward the liberation of Western Europe. Your view glides forward through these dramatic days, through the bloody hedgerows of Normandy, through the city of Caen, through the breakout at St. Lay, and into the dramatic moment when the German army starts to withdraw. The invasion successfully secured a foothold in France and opened a path toward Paris and Ward. Eventually, Germany itself. Some say this moment underscores a key historical debate, whether the invasion was a dramatic gamble that nearly fell short or a carefully orchestrated triumph. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown marked a turning point in the Second World War, a dramatic reversal of momentum in the European theater. As you move forward through these dramatic days, through fields littered with the wreckage of war, through the liberation of villages and the advance toward Paris, you realize you're experiencing a decisive moment in the story of the Second World War. The showdown in France was not the final battle. It was a dramatic breakthrough, a dramatic affirmation that Hitler's grip on Europe was weakening and the path toward ultimate peace was opening. Your pulse settles once more. The feeling in your stomach, a mixture of nervous anticipation and resolve, underscores the dramatic reality you're experiencing. The showdown in France has opened a path forward, a path that will soon carry you toward the final showdown, the fall of Nazi Germany. As you lift your gaze from the fields of France, a dramatic showdown is brewing on the horizon, the final showdown, the push into Germany itself. The year is 1945. The Nazi Empire is collapsing under pressure from all directions. The Soviet Red Army is closing in from the east. The Western Allies are advancing from the west. The dramatic pincer movement signals the downfall of Hitler's reign, a showdown that will bring the greatest conflict in human history to a dramatic close. Picture yourself now in a freezing, battle-scarred European landscape, forests barren. Of leaves, rivers crossed by temporary bridges, villages reduced to ruins. The soldiers you march alongside are weary, yet inexorably driven forward by the knowledge that this dramatic showdown will be the last. The men around you come from all walks of life, a rich human tapestry united by a dramatic purpose. To destroy the Nazi war machine once and for all? Here's a quirky twist you might find hard to believe. The German army made a dramatic last gamble in December 1944. A surprise counteroffensive through the Ardennes, the Battle of the Bulge. Hitler hoped to split the Allied advance and force a dramatic peace on the Western Front. But this move fell short, adding urgency and momentum to the final Allied push into Germany. Meanwhile, the Soviet army was closing in from the east, and the USA and UK were grinding forward from the west. Some say this underscores a key historical debate, whether the two campaigns were a dramatic race to Berlin, each side eager to claim the city first. Whatever side you take, it's clear this showdown was not just a military advance. It was a dramatic showdown of ideology, a showdown that pitted totalitarian aggression against a powerful alliance of democracies. Your view glides forward through these dramatic days, through the crossing of the Rhine, the encircling of the Ruhr, the fall of Nuremberg, and the dramatic showdown in Berlin itself. Soviet soldiers raised their flag over the Reichstag in May 1945, marking the dramatic downfall of Hitler's Germany.